Part 114. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lou Kixie. Chapter 1131. Chapter 1131 Proposal under the fireworks of the prosperous age. After Xiaoziun left quietly, she quickly changed her clothes and went to a place. She immediately saw Han Xingyi standing in the crowd. Go through the crowd and find that person accurately. She reached out from behind and covered the man's eyes. Guess who I am? Asking knowingly. Han Xingyi was very cooperative and sighed, oh, some beauty came to chat with me. I am really charming. Xiaoziun snorted and let go. My charming male wants a beautiful woman to strike up a conversation with you. It seems that I am redundant. Let's go. Xiaoziun was ready to leave, but Han Xingyi turned around and hugged her into his arms. I have waited so long for the person I love, how can I be willing to let you go? Hearing such sweet love words, Xiaoziun couldn't hide the smile on his face. She drew a circle on Han Xingyi's mouth with her finger. The male has learned a lot of sweet words recently. Han Xingyi stared down at her. I have something sweeter, do you want to listen to it? Xiaoziun raised his head and said, well, I'd like to hear the details. Follow me. Han Xingyi immediately let go of her and started holding hands. The two intertwined their fingers in a natural and tacit understanding. They were dressed in ordinary clothes and walked through the crowd with their fingers intertwined. Han Xingyi took her to a fountain. The fountains emerging from the pool are colorful and changeable in shape, which looks particularly beautiful in the night scene. But Han Xingyi said to her, wait a little longer. Han Xingyi raised his hand and saw the time on the clock on his wrist. There are still 30 seconds. I don't know when it started, but the sound of countdown came from my ears. 10. 9. Xiaoziun looked left and right in confusion. Han Xingyi raised his hands to cover her ears. She only heard a loud bang and colorful fireworks suddenly bloomed in the night sky above her head. There were cheerful cheers all around. Xiaoziun looked up at the sky in surprise. Fireworks flew into the sky one after another and set off, blooming into different colors and shapes. The blooming of fireworks represents joyful celebration. For Xiaoziun, who won the award today, this grand fireworks display seemed to be burning and blooming for her. When she looked up at the colorful fireworks, Han Xingyi had been watching her quietly, his eyes full of affection. Fireworks. Like it? Xiaoziun vaguely heard Han Xingyi's voice, but didn't hear clearly what he just said. Xiaoziun tiptoed closer to him. What did you say? Louder, I can't hear you. Han Xingyi held her hand and suddenly knelt down on one knee in front of her. At that moment, the sound of fireworks exploding suddenly stopped, and it seemed that the whole world became peaceful. In Xiaoziun's surprised eyes, Han Xingyi magically conjured up a shining ring and raised it high. Yun, will you marry me? His serious look was like that of a devout believer praying. For some reason, Xiaoziun felt that she couldn't control her expression, and tears fell down on Yan Ran's smile. Smile with tears. The corners of her mouth opened and closed several times before she excitedly said a few words, I do. At that moment, another firework flew into the night sky and burst into brilliant light. Han Xingyi hugged her tightly in his arms, as if he was protecting a peerless treasure. I'm sorry that I can't give you a lively proposal now, but I hope that I can give you a perfect wedding in an honest and fair manner in the near future. When her situation allows her to make their relationship public, he will definitely allow her a grand wedding. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lou Kixie. Chapter 1132. Chapter 1132, A Man with Evil Intentions. The matter of winning the award has come to an end, but the topic of prosperous Chang'an is still at the forefront. Xiaoziun's agency plans to focus on cultivating her, and even wants to find a role for her with good resources while the iron is hot. Xiaoziun has a lot of resources, but after selecting them, he found that there are not many good resources. That day, her agent suddenly told her that a very good resource came to her door and wanted to invite her to audition for the heroine. Xiaoziun prepared carefully, and the audition process went extremely smoothly. She was still wondering if she had been cheating in the past 2 months. Lucky. Everything you do is smooth. But she regretted it before she even walked out of that door, because she met Xiang Yan here. Xiaoziun wanted to take a detour when she saw Xiang Yan, but when Xiang Yan saw her, it was like a big bad wolf seeing a little sheep. Ziun, what a coincidence, I didn't expect to meet you here. Being called out clearly, Xiaoziun could no longer pretend to be blind and could only turn back to deal with Xiang Yan. Hello, Senior Xiang Yan. Xiang Yan pointed to the direction she came out and asked, are you here for the audition? Yes. How is the result? I don't know yet, I just auditioned and am waiting for the result. Xiang Yan chuckled and said firmly, don't think about it, you will definitely get the best role. Xiang Yan's confident tone made Xiaoziun feel strange, but she could only agree, I borrow the good words from Senior Xiang Yan. Xiang Yan shamelessly asked for a topic, Ziun, why are you always so polite to me? We have been together on the crew of the Great Age of Chang'an for so long and we work together so well. We can be considered friends after all, right? Xiaoziun responded euphemistically, Senior Xiang Yan is a good actor worthy of learning from me. I'm afraid Ziun cannot be called a friend. Xiang Yan is such a smart person, so of course he understood the meaning of Xiaoziun's words. But when it comes to chasing women, he knows that persistence is the key. Just like now, even if he understood Xiaoziun's rejection, he had to pretend that he couldn't understand the underlying meaning. Not only that, he also kept looking for topics to talk about. Look, I'm only a few years older than you, and you just call me senior and make me look like an old man. Xiaoziun really wanted to run away. Xiang Yan seemed to have noticed her thoughts, so he mentioned her perfunctory invitation to dinner last time. Ziun, are you free today? Last time you said you wanted to treat me to dinner, but I always remembered it. Xiang Yan. Xiaoziun was annoyed and called out his name. The scene suddenly became quiet. Xiaoziun took a deep breath and returned to her senses. She softened her tone and said, Senior Xiang Yan, I have been really busy recently. If there is a suitable time, I will definitely treat Senior to dinner to express my gratitude. She kept saying looking for a suitable time, but in her opinion, there was no suitable time for her to invite Xiang Yan to have dinner with her. It's all just prevarication. She knew that people like Xiang Yan could understand. But what she didn't know was that Xiang Yan would not stop eating a prey until he took it into his mouth. Xiang Yan turned around and walked into the place where Xiaoziun had just auditioned. He greeted the director skillfully, Director Li, what do you think of the advice I gave you before? The people introduced by Mr. Xiang are naturally good. We have known each other for many years. I believe in your judgment of people. In that case, how about Director Li do me one more favor? Such misery is about to begin, don't hit me. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1133. Chapter 1133 The beginning of Xiaoziun's nightmare. Xiaoziun received a reply the day after the audition. Her audition was a success. I'm so happy. She was excited and soon started negotiating the contract. The director of the Prosperity of Chang'an also contacted her and learned about her recent new drama. I know Director Li too. Why don't you come with me to a dinner party the day after tomorrow? I'll introduce you to some people. Xiaoziun was of course willing to accept a director among his peers who was willing to promote him. She took her manager to the banquet and met Director Li as soon as she got out of the car. After polite greetings, the two walked side by side. When they entered, they found that several people had already arrived, including men and women, some familiar and some unfamiliar. Xiaoziun smiled and faced everyone. The director of the prosperity of Chang'an was really helping her, and the people he introduced to her were all well known in the circle. But Xiaoziun's good mood was ruined a lot by the next person who appeared. Because Xiang Yan is here. Since Xiang Yan, that intense gaze has been cast on Xiaoziun, which makes her very repelled. But in such an occasion, she even had to use her acting skills. She could not show her true emotions, but wanted to show all the perfect sides of herself in front of everyone as much as possible. Xiang Yan tried every means to get next to her. Xiaoziun cannot be avoided. Ziun, I didn't expect that we are so destined to meet each other again just 2 days ago. Xiang Yan asked her to talk, and Xiaoziun smiled back. I heard that your audition was successful this time and you have got the role of the heroine. Congratulations. Thanks. Well, it seems like everything I hear from you is either a thank you or a rejection. It's really hard for me to want to make friends with you. It is basic courtesy to express gratitude. Senior Xiang Yan is naturally my friend. They won't suffer any loss by verbally admitting that they are friends. In their profession, it is also necessary to apply acting skills to people's interactions. Xiang Yan raised a glass of wine and gestured to her, and Xiaoziun also raised her own glass and clinked it with him. Xiaoziun originally wanted to find her agent, but when she saw what her agent was talking to Director Li, she didn't dare to interrupt. The waiter came over with a tray. When he first arrived in front of Xiaoziun, he seemed to trip over something and accidentally spilled the drink on her lap. The skirt is wet. With so many people present, it was difficult for Xiaoziun to pursue the matter directly. When the waiter apologized, she waved her hand and stood up. I'll go to the bathroom to deal with it. The agent will naturally follow him. It was embarrassing to have this kind of thing happen, and others just treated it as a minor incident and deliberately didn't mention it. Just after Xiaoziun left, Xiang Yan also left quietly. Xiaoziun wiped her skirt in the bathroom, but it was still wet. It's hard to go back like this, so she has to wait for her agent to bring her a new set. Xiaoziun took care of things for a while in the bathroom, and suddenly felt a little heavy in her head. She patted her face with water, took 2 steps outside, and held onto the wall outside to stand firm. Xiang Yan didn't know when he appeared beside her. 11 Yun, what's wrong with you? Head, a little dizzy. She reached out and pressed her head. The feeling was uncontrollable. Call up. She didn't trust Xiang Yan, so she reached out to touch the phone. But before she took her phone out of her bag, Xiang Yan had already grasped her hand tightly. Ziun, you are drunk, I will help you to rest. Be mentally prepared. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1134. Chapter 1134, Forced and Humiliated. No, no need. Xiaoziun wanted to push Xiang Yan away, but Xiang Yan held her firmly. She felt weak all over. She was helped into the elevator and could not see clearly the numbers on the red floors. Xiaoziun was brought into a room by Xiang Yan. Xiang Yan took the mobile phone from her bag and unlocked it with her fingerprint. He found the name of Xiaoziun's manager and sent a text message, I'm going back first, Director Li's side. I need to talk to you about something, please. Xiaoziun's agent hurried back and received such a text message. She had no choice but to put away her things and return to the dinner to continue talking about cooperation with Director Li. Xiaoziun was helped to lean on the bed. Her body was weak and her mind was not clear. She was extremely panicked. Hand out his hand to take back Xiang Yan's cell phone. Xiang Yan stepped aside and Xiaoziun missed it. Xiang Yan stood up and placed her mobile phone on the table 3 meters away. What do you want to do, Xia Ziun grabbed her thigh hard to wake herself up, but her body felt so heavy that she couldn't walk. Xiang Yan chuckled lightly and stroked her delicate and smooth face with his fingers. 11 Yun, I have never understood why you rejected me over and over again. Xia Ziun refused again and again. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that she didn't want to have anything to do with Xiang Yan, but Xiang Yan had a special taste. The more she couldn't get, the more she wanted to conquer. Xia Ziun felt extremely disgusted by his words. Xiang Yan approached him, but Xia Ziun kept trying to avoid him and fell down beside the bed. Xiang Yan stretched out his hand to pull her up. Xia Ziun pinched her arm cruelly, got up, and ran forward. Xiang Yan hugged her from behind, threw her onto the soft bed, and pressed her upper body. Go away. I, Xiang Yan, have chosen all the women I can't get, and you are no exception. Xiang Yan, let me go. Don't worry, you will beg me later and tell me not to let go. Xia Ziun's struggle was like a fist hitting cotton, with no effect. Xiang Yan roughly pulled open her skirt, eager to get it and prove his ability. Don't want. The actor who can usually perform countless looks now has only one expression, all of which turned into fear. Xiang Yan, let me go, please. Her helpless request made Xiang Yan feel a sense of pleasure in torturing others. Ifis took off her dress roughly and violently, lowered her head and kissed her. Xia Ziun had no way to retreat, and tears fell down. Don't. Xia Ziun was unable to retreat, and in the end he didn't even have the strength to struggle. I have a boyfriend, please let me go. The mobile phone on the table glowed brightly. Xia Ziun watched helplessly as the screen lit up and then went out. When he stretched out a hand, Xiang Yan pulled it back and held it tightly. Tonight, you must become mine. Hoshino, save me. Ah. Xia Ziun's agent has reached an agreement with Director Li on cooperation. He planned to report the situation to Xia Ziun before going home, but no one answered the call he made. According to what Xia Ziun said before going home, her agent sent her a text message. And Han Xingyi knew that Xia Ziun attended the dinner with her manager today and was shutting herself at home composing music at the moment. This piece of music is unique. It is a song he composed specially for his beloved woman. They have agreed to get the certificate on a good day in a week. This song will become a unique gift from him to her. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1135. Chapter 1135 The Unsightly Scene. There was a sound of rushing water in the toilet. Xia Ziun was lying on the bed with his eyes open, his pupils losing anxiety. What happened within half an hour was like a nightmare. It was only half an hour, but it completely ruined her entire life. Xiang Yan came out of the toilet wrapped in a bath towel, with a glorious face, looking energetic and happy. Because he succeeded in catching the prey he wanted to eat most, he felt happy both physically and mentally. Yunur, do you want me to take a bath? Xiang Yan asked as he walked, automatically changing the nickname that Xia Ziun disliked at the beginning. His voice was as gentle as a lover's. But he was not asking for Xia Ziun's opinion, but directly reached out to hug her. Xia Ziun was naked under the quilt. When Xiang Yan reached out, Xia Ziun suddenly grabbed his arm and bit him hard. Xiang Yan was in pain and pulled her away by her hair. Both sides were injured, and Xiang Yan had blood-red tooth marks on his wrist. Xiang Yan glanced at her meaningfully. He did not get angry directly, but pretended to be polite. Yunur, you are now mine. Be obedient and I will ensure that you will have continuous resources and become famous in the future. I just want to kill you now. Xiang Yan reached out to touch her and ran his fingers through her hair. Suddenly he put a lot of force on his hand and called out, Yunur. This is a threat and a warning. Do you dare to tell me what happened tonight? Will you be hidden by the company or will your reputation be ruined? Huh. He who knows the current affairs is a hero. Be my woman and I will ensure that you have a smooth career in the entertainment industry. Xia Ziun stared at him with red eyes. Xiang Yan, you will get retribution. Xiang Yan had already planned it. He drugged her wine glass and deliberately spilled the wine on her skirt to drive her away. Even if the time is calculated, no one will not maliciously speculate that earth-shaking changes will occur in just 1 hour. Xiang Yan threw Xia Ziun's hand to her side, but he was not afraid of what she would do with the phone now, thinking that everything was settled. With a dong sound, Xiang Yan sent a few photos to Xia Ziun. They were unsightly pictures. Xiang Yan also picked it up and admired it. Tisk, 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 it's such a pity that such a beautiful body should be acquired by another man. Every word spoken from Xiang Yan's mouth stimulated Xia Ziun's brain. She cried silently, even though she covered her ears. Those terrifying sounds like a curse still came through. Stop talking, stop talking. If time hadn't allowed, I would have been reluctant to let you go. Yunur, you are so delicious. Stop talking and get out. She put down the mobile phone next to her and it vibrated. She knew who the special caller screen was just by glancing at it. She didn't dare to answer the phone, she didn't dare to face it. Xiang Yan only saw the note with the word male god, and remembered what Xia Ziun said on the variety show that time, and he understood clearly. My boyfriend's phone number. He asked deliberately, but the only response he got was Xia Ziun's sobs after suppressing her tears. She couldn't help but clench her fists and found that her physical strength had gradually recovered. Xiang Yan's disgusting sounds were ringing in her ears. She forced herself to stand up, and when Xiang Yan was not prepared, she picked up the ashtray next to her and threw it at him hard. The glass ashtray fell to the ground and broke into pieces. Xiang Yan's forehead was completely bruised and his fingers were stained with bright red blood. Go to hell, go to hell. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1136. Chapter 1136. I am very dirty, very dirty. The night wind was desolate. Xia Ziun stood by the river, letting the cool breeze blow. She couldn't feel the normal temperature, she only felt bitingly cold. Cold to the core from the outside to the inside. If she jumped into this calm lake, would it be able to wash away all the dirt on her body? She endured the humiliation soberly but was unable to resist. Every time she thought of that scene, she really seemed to jump from here to end all nightmares. Han Xingyi found Xia Ziun based on her mobile phone positioning. The moment he saw her, he found her standing by the river without guardrails, half of her feet out. Han Xingyi's heart suddenly reached its peak. He approached quietly and hugged Xia Ziun from behind. Xia Ziun struggled like a frightened trapped animal and reacted extremely. Yun, it's me. Let me go, don't touch me. Han Xingyi was worried about hurting her, so he let her go and held her hand. Yun, what happened? Xia Ziun shook her head and backed away. What she wanted most was to break free from Han Xingyi's hand. Let me go, don't come over. She was frightened and full of fear. Han Xingyi felt even more worried when he saw her losing control of her emotions. Don't be afraid, let me take you home first, okay? Xia Ziun still shook his head, and his tears kept falling like dropped beads, which made Han Xingyi feel distressed. With Xia Ziun looking like this, he would definitely not dare to let go. Han Xingyi took a step forward and hugged her directly, hugging her tightly and not letting her go. Yun, no matter what happens, just tell me and I will accompany you to help you solve it. Don't reject me. Hearing Han Xingyi's firm defensive tone, Xia Ziun leaned into his arms and burst into tears. I'm very dirty, very dirty. In the end, Xiaoziun was carried back by Han Xingyi when she was tired from crying. Xiaoziun never said anything, and Han Xingyi had countless speculations in his heart, knowing that he found those marks on her body when he changed her clothes. Based on what Xiaoziun said intermittently, he guessed that an accident was very likely to happen, and he felt as if a knife had opened a dripping wound in his heart. Xiaoziun's eyelashes trembled. When she felt those warm palms touching her body, she could no longer pretend to sleep. She opened her eyes, pushed Han Xingyi's hand away, and rushed into the bathroom. She wanted to wash her whole body, but the humiliation she suffered would become a scar that would be burned into her heart forever. Han Xingyi did not remain silent because he knew that his current attitude was particularly important to Xiaoziun. So, no matter what happens, you have me. Say no more. How does she deserve it? How could she deserve the millions of affection he gave her now? It's me, I'm sorry for you, I'm not worthy of you, please leave. Yun, I don't care about that. For me, it's enough for you to stay with me. Can't. He is the proud son of heaven, the bright moon hanging high in the sky in her heart. Originally, she was like the stars. Later, she worked hard to chase and catch up, and finally became the star closest to the bright moon. But now, she has fallen into the mud on the ground and can no longer get close to the bright moon in the sky. Unworthy, she is not qualified to get closer. Han Xingyi, I'm sorry for you. Boom. She refused to come out, so Han Xingyi opened the door directly. Xiaoziun immersed her whole body in water, her face covered with tears. She couldn't face it, she really couldn't face it. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1137. Chapter 1137. Who is the person who hurt you? For the rest of the night, Xiaoziun fell asleep and was awakened by nightmares again and again. Han Xingyi stayed by her side and coaxed her to sleep with his gentle voice again and again. As soon as I closed my eyes, what appeared in front of me was Xiangyan's ugly face, and what I heard in my ears were Xiangyan's disgusting words. She might go crazy if this continues. Xiaoziun sat up from the bed in shock, turned around and saw Han Xingyi next to him, and suddenly grabbed his hand. Medicine, I want to take medicine. Xiangyan forced her but did not take any safety measures. She must not leave any hidden dangers. Han Xingyi certainly would not refuse Xiaoziun's request, but he did not dare to let Xiaoziun stay at home alone at the moment. Han Xingyi held her in his arms and protected her tenderly. Yun, don't be afraid, I have everything. Gently pat her back and comfort her to sleep. Okay, go to bed first. When you get up tomorrow morning, everything will be fine. Han Xingyi seemed to be the last straw that Xiaoziun grasped, fragile and easy to break, but also the only one. This night, Xiaoziun woke up several times. When she woke up the next day, there was the medicine she wanted next to her. Xiaoziun swallowed it in one gulp without hesitation. The phone buzzed, and Xiangyan sent a message. Yun'er, are you free today? How about coming out for a cup of tea? Xiaoziun saw him and blocked him directly. But not long after, she received another strange message, which only contained a photo. One photo that was enough to ruin her. Xiaoziun slammed her phone to the ground, tears forming in her still swollen eyes. She really wanted to kill Xiangyan and cut the heinous devil into pieces, but she couldn't kill him, and didn't dare to use legal means to protect herself. She is a public figure. Once this matter is exposed, no matter whether she is a victim or not, everyone will remember her as a filthy woman. Her friends and family will be questioned, and Han Xingyi's reputation, she doesn't dare to gamble, and she can't afford it. Xiaoziun ran out of bed barefoot and went to the dressing table to open her most treasured jewelry box. She took out a small box and opened it to see that the exquisite and beautiful diamond ring was shining brightly. She held the box in her hands, put it in Xian's mouth, and cried until she could no longer make a sound. Han Xingyi came in with breakfast and found Xiaoziun sitting on the ground crying, and he felt heartbroken. He put the food down, clenched his fists, and his clenched teeth were rattling. When he reached Xiaoziun's side, he deliberately softened his attitude and said, "Yun, the ground is cold. I will feel bad if you catch a cold." He stretched out a hand, but Xiaoziun avoided it and shook his head to express resistance. Han Xingyi wanted to hug her, but she handed the ring box directly over. Xiaoziun raised her head, looked at Han Xingyi with tearful eyes, and said something as painful as ripping out her heart, "I'm sorry, let's break up. I won't agree to it. I'm not worthy of you, really, I'm in pain, it's painful." Bang, Han Xingyi punched the leg of the dressing table with a strong fist. "Who's that person?" He had resisted questioning him on the spot because he was afraid of irritating Xiaoziun, but that didn't mean he would let that person go. The person who hurt Xiaoziun will definitely inflict revenge with thousands of times more pain. He will never allow Xiaoziun to leave. It is his responsibility to solve Xiaoziun's nightmare. So, who is the person who hurt you? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1138. Chapter 1138, Be My Wife. Xiaoziun huddled there, covering her ears with her hands. Don't ask, don't ask. I'm sorry for you, it's all my fault. If she hadn't been too careless, if she hadn't been too weak, if she hadn't taken on the drama The Great Age of Chang'an, maybe she wouldn't have met Xiang Yan. She would still be clean and qualified to stand in the Han Xingyi around. But now, she just felt that she was so dirty that she couldn't clean it no matter what she did. Touching him seemed like blasphemy. She wanted to go and die, really. But she was afraid and she couldn't bear it. If she died like this, it would be a disservice to Xiang Yan, and she would be sorry for her family, and even more, she would be reluctant to lie on the cold ground from now on, never being able to touch the one she loved most in her heart. But she can spend the rest of her life alone and alone to protect that pure love. Han Xingyi reached out to take the box in her hand. Xiaoziun pinched it for a moment, but finally let go of his hand. The ring box was taken away by Han Xingyi. She saw her fingers trembling through her tearful eyes, but in the end she did nothing. Han Xingyi knelt on one knee in front of her, opened the box and took out the shining diamond ring. No matter how she avoided it, he just wanted to tell her unswervingly, "Yun, in my eyes, you are the best. You promised to be my wife, and you will never go back on your promise. Nothing is more important to me than having you by my side. Marry me, that's what I want most." He gently held Xiaoziun's hand and carefully put the ring into her finger. It was a very suitable size and was tailor-made for her. Xiaoziun felt that she was not qualified. At this time, Han Xingyi could not remain silent. He wanted to show her his sincerity to prove, "All I want is you. So, do you still remember the agreement we made when we were together? We agreed that no matter what happens in the future, we will walk side by side and face it together. I will not break my promise, and neither can you. This is different." Han Xingyi took a deep breath and changed the subject. "Okay, you need to have a good rest, but before that, eat something and don't go hungry." He brought the food to Xiaoziun, and Xiaoziun reluctantly took a few bites. Xiaoziun already had several missed calls on her cell phone. Han Xingyi contacted her agent and temporarily postponed her schedule. "You should go out first, I want to be alone." "I'll accompany you." As if he was afraid of Xiaoziun's rejection, Han Xingyi quickly added, "I promise to quietly turn myself invisible." He deliberately used a light tone, but was still rejected by Xiaoziun. "I'm fine by myself, I'm fine by myself." Xiaoziun insisted on evicting Han Xingyi out. Hang the door shut with a bang to isolate yourself from the outside world. The agent called again and mentioned Director Lee, and Xia Ziun asked to terminate the contract. This is unacceptable to the agent. Xia, what nonsense are you talking about? We have already signed a contract. If we break the contract now, we will have to pay double the compensation. The agent just thought that Xia Ziun was dizzy and changed her mind after she woke up. Xia Ziun was serious. I will pay the liquidated damages. Maybe this will be the last thing you do for me, please. Xia Ziun's determination made the agent unable to understand, let alone knowing that Xia Ziun had made a bold decision. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1139. Chapter 1139, 1 Night and 100 Days of Grace Between Husband and Wife. The news about Xiang Yan came again, and the pervasive sense of coercion invaded her sanity. Xiang Yan sent one message after another, using her photo set to force her to submit. Xia Ziun clenched her fists, and the rings between her fingers were wrapped around her fingers. She couldn't bear it anymore and called back and asked angrily, Xiang Yan, what on earth do you want to do? Xiang Yan's triumphant laughter came from the phone, as if he was happy that he had successfully caught the prey. Yunur, one night's love lasts for 100 days, don't forget to easily forget our one night's love. That's enough, stop talking. Yunur, don't be angry, come out and have a meal, otherwise I don't even know who to give the stack of photos in my hand to. Threat, the threat of Red Lolo. Xiang Yan meant that if she didn't go to the appointment to get it in person, she would give her photo to someone else, which would be tantamount to being exposed. But she knew very well that she could not compromise. Once she compromises, there will be a second time after the first time. For her, it will be endless hurt and humiliation. Xia Ziun angrily retorted, are you trying to drive me crazy? Xiang Yan, let me tell you, don't threaten me. A dog will jump over the wall when he is anxious. If you drive me anxious, I don't know what I will do. Crazy things. After hearing this, Kai Xianjun felt no fear in his heart and said 3 words confidently, you can't. Just 3 words shattered the strong fortress that Xia Ziun had built. It's not that she doesn't know how to do it, it's that she doesn't dare. Xiang Yan is rich and powerful, and she cannot overpower him. In a lose-lose ending, it doesn't matter if she is scarred, but it will definitely affect the people around her. It's just that all this weakness and incompetence must not be shown in front of Xiang Yan. Even if she is afraid, she will not lose her momentum. Xiang Yan, don't think that everything will go as you wish. The worst may happen. I don't care about my future or my reputation. Let's see. Xia Ziun decisively hung up the phone and immediately added the number to the blacklist. She did not hesitate to ask the company to terminate the contract. Even if it required compensation for breach of contract, she did not want to continue. Everyone asked for the reason, but Xia Ziun did it cleanly and decisively. A stain that cannot be erased, in order to prevent it from getting bigger, use extreme methods to reduce it. Director Li approached Xiang Yan for unknown reasons. You asked me to help take care of Xia Ziun before. Why did you suddenly change your mind today? You would rather pay liquidated damages than touch the contract. Xiang Yan found out after checking that Xia Ziun's affairs were indeed out of his control. Xia Ziun would rather give up her promising future and cut ties with him. Xiang Yan has played with more women than he can count on one hand. Some took the initiative to climb into bed for money, some were coaxed by his handsome appearance and gentleness, and some were forced by him like Xia Ziun. In short, those who are favored by Xiang Yan will most likely not be able to escape, because the villain will use all possible means. Xiang Yan is used to tempting people with money and fame, but when he met Xiaoziun, Xiaoziun was the first to resist him in such a decisive way. Interesting. Xiang Yan didn't have any sense of crisis from beginning to end. He had checked that Xiaoziun's family background was ordinary, so he had nothing to fear. Xiang Yan does have photos in his hand, but he doesn't plan to release these things before he loses interest in Xiaoziun. After all, this is the trump card in his hand. What Xiang Yan didn't know was that he was already being targeted. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1140. Chapter 1140 The Collapse of Xiaoziun. The information about Xiang Yan was placed in front of him, and Han Xingyi's eyes were so filled with hatred. He will not let anyone bully Xiaoziun go. Xiaoziun is unwilling to take legal action because she cares about her own reputation and the reputation of those around her. Han Xingyi respects her choice, but is determined to abolish Xiang Yan. Xiang Yan has the support of his family and a face that meets the public's aesthetics, and he has prospered in the entertainment industry. But no matter who that person is, they can't stop Han Xingyi's determination to take revenge. Including Xiaoziun herself, she also hated him. If she had the capital and ability, she would really kill Xiang Yan to vent her anger without hesitation. The news that Xiaoziun and the company were saving quickly spread, and many people began to talk about it. Xiaoziun hid in her room all day long, unwilling to face it. Xiang Yan kept harassing her with the photos in her hand, which made Xiaoziun very depressed, but she didn't dare to let Han Xingyi know because she was afraid that Han Xingyi would feel dirty when he saw those photos. 3 times, every time Han Xingyi coaxed Xiaoziun, Xiang Yan would break through her psychological defense with a few words. Xiaoziun's disobedience only made Xiang Yan more motivated to fight, but Xiang Yan still lived his life as he pleased without being influenced by others, as if there was nothing he couldn't get as long as he was rich and powerful. On this day, Xiang Yan went to the garage to drive, and a group of people suddenly rushed out and surrounded him. The person who comes is not good. Xiang Yan was surrounded in the middle. He looked left and right. What do you want to do? As soon as he asked the question, he was knocked unconscious to the ground. In another black car sat a man who gave orders, take it away. When Xiang Yan woke up again, he found that his hands and feet were bound by iron ropes, which made his whole body hurt even if he moved. His eyes were blocked by a black cloth, and he could not see the scenery and people around him. Who is it, who is playing a prank? Prank, tisk. A cold taunt sounded in the empty place, making people shudder. Xiang Yan was used to living a smooth life, so when he encountered something like this for the first time, he couldn't help but feel a little uneasy. Do you know who I am, Xiang Yan? If you are sensible, please let me go and admit my mistake. I will consider sparing you rabble. Xiang Yan, the most favored junior of the Xiang family, started filming at the age of 19. That voice exposed all the basic information about Xiang Yan, including some information that was deliberately hidden. What exactly do you want to do? How much money do you want? As long as you send me back intact, I can satisfy your request. Money? You are not so naive as to think that everyone can spend money. The voice suddenly became louder, and Xiang Yan could already feel the figure of the man standing in front of him. Xiang Yan used his acting skills to pretend to be calm, with sweat dripping down his forehead. Who are you? The voice suddenly became louder. A man comes to take revenge on you. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, an iron rod hit Xiang Yan, who screamed in pain. Stick after stick hit Xiang Yan's body mercilessly. Even a strong man could not withstand such a severe blow to Xiang Yan, who was usually pampered. Xiang Yan felt that that man was simply going to kill him. Who are you? How did I provoke you? Xiang Yan, today I will let you see clearly and remember who I am. The man reached out and lifted the black cloth from Xiang Yan's eyes, revealing his face in front of him. End of this chapter.